Hello, welcome to my video. This is going to be a tutorial how I made these reverse tie-dye tops with bleach and some t-shirts. So we'll get straight into it. I started off with some 100% cotton t-shirts. My grandma asked me to make these for her and just said surprise me on the design, so here we are. For the first design, I started by folding the t-shirt vertically in half, and I needed a bowl for the center just to mark a rough guideline of where I'd be folding my pleats around. And I just started from one side and made my way all the way around the circle. This was surprisingly quick. Normally I would fold each line and iron them, but this didn't really need it. And then I just tidied up each pleat and made sure they were equal. I secured these pleats with some rubber bands. As you can see, I was also trying to use up some old snapped rubber bands, but they were a little bit deteriorated, so they just kept snapping. But I didn't want to throw them out, I guess. And when it got to the long sleeve, I'd never done a long sleeve tie-dye before, so I kind of left it undone so that I could figure it out before I got to the end, but I did end up just doing the same technique with the body as with the sleeve, and you'll see at the end. I'm glad I did that because I was about to do something completely different and I think it would have messed with the flow. So for the next one, I use some wool, make sure it's polyester, otherwise a wool will disintegrate with the bleach. And I'm basically just grabbing some kind of sausages with the fabric. I'm doing one side of the t-shirt at a time and just wrapping it around from the top to the bottom. And I'm wrapping it around twice for each line and making sure it's nice and tight. I probably could have used rubber bands for this, but I don't think I had enough. And hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm also trying to make sure the pleats are relatively equal. And for some of the rings, I also pulled the fabric through to create a kind of asymmetric circular design, if that makes any sense. And I did the same on the sleeves. I did about 2 rings per sleeve, or 2 sausages, whatever you want to call it. I did this the whole way around the t-shirt, and I would say this technique was the most time consuming out of the 3. And here it is at the end. I just wanted to check for loose bits. So we got one little loose bit here, and I just used a rubber band to do the same technique. And here's my little broken rubber band. Just tied it off in a knot and did exactly the same what I did with the wool over here. So that's that one done, and the 2 of them so far. Here for the third and final design, I did a kind of concertina pleated. I just did some vertical lines, as you can see. And I did actually think this was going to come out a little bit different to how it would, but watching back the video, I'm not surprised the way that it came out. It does make sense. I did think this was going to have a bit more of an interesting pattern in the end, just because of the way I ended up folding these pleats. Here, I rolled it up and going back on itself a couple of times, but it will literally just bleach the lines that are facing the top, which were straight lines. And then I just secured this with a rubber band. If you want to do a spiral, there's a specific technique where you just pinch and twist the middle of the fabric, basically. And it's a lot quicker and easier than what I just did. But yeah, before bleaching, I just got this plastic tub. I lined it with plastic and I got my bleach. I did about 50% bleach and 50% water for this. And you'll see the reason why I lined my plastic tub with more plastic. Also, I reused that plastic for everything. As you can see, it's a little bit dirty. And my water here that I'm pouring in already had a little bit of bleach in, but I'm using it because the spray nozzle of this bottle is a bit broken. So I just wanted to use the bleach up. And I'm using the syringe that will be my applicator throughout the process just to stir it thoroughly. And of course, I got some gloves because my hands do not react well with bleach. And you should be careful. You can see the fabric is already bleaching a very orangey pinky color very quickly. And here I'm just applying it to the t-shirt. Normally I would wet the fabric, but I didn't feel like this needed it. I did mist some of the fabric just to see if it would help, but the bleach water mixture I had was very weak. But the syringe was the best, the quickest applicator, and the most precise. The spray bottle was kind of getting everywhere I didn't want it to go. And you can see the bleach from this one that I'm doing is all dribbling down onto the t-shirt at the bottom. And it's changing color very, very quickly. And my idea with this was to just put it where the string was. I was hoping to get kind of black thinner lines in between where the pieces of string were. I don't know if I did the string tight enough. You'll see at the end. And for each of these, I did apply the bleach a little bit differently in the hopes of getting a slightly different design. I would say this, I believe it's called a star tying method. And here is the final one. Very exciting. And again, here I just put the bleach where the rubber bands were tied. If you made it this far into the video, leave a like if you're enjoying the video, or a comment, perhaps if you have a question, if I missed something out. Although I'm not a professional, I just do this for fun, but hopefully I can answer any questions and maybe even consider subscribing. The rest of my channel is quite a mix of arts and crafts. It's just stuff that I enjoy doing, and often, well, I try to share it on YouTube in the hopes that people will like it or be inspired. Once I had put on the last bit of bleach, I let these sit for about 20 minutes. I set a timer on my phone and went to check on them. But as you can see, they had actually bleached really quickly. This was just to get the last little bits looking the same. Once I had sufficiently applied all the bleach, I just double checked over for any little bald spots on anything and finished off the bleach by pouring it in and dabbing them in. This is why I wanted to put plastic to cover the top and retain the heat. This is the first one I unraveled. I wish it had more bleach on, so I folded it again where the black parts were, so the black bits were on the top of the folds, facing upwards where I could directly bleach those. Here I spiraled it up so that it was more compact, and I just used a paintbrush. This was also a bit wet because I'd already rinsed it out. So I did the same 50-50 bleach mixture, but you'll see that it is not as bright as the first layer of bleach that I did. But I do really like it. It kind of reminds me of tree bark. And here I'm just painting it on. This took ages, and then I ended up switching to the syringe. I was thinking of making it look like a bit more rustic, but it was taking a long time. And my brush started disintegrating as well, which is never a good sign. I then washed these by hand and then popped them in the washing machine to get rid of any bleach smells. And this is what they looked like when they were wet. I hung them up to dry so that they weren't harassed by too much heat in the tumble dryer, and left them to dry overnight. This was them the next day, outside in sunlight. This was the first one. The Tide Star one. I love this. This one's my favorite. So get some more screen time. The front and the back look different. The front had a lot more circles on it, and the back had one really big, nice detailed one. And this is the last one, the one with which I did with a bowl, which looks very cool. Kind of looks like a cow with 6 horns on its head, in my opinion. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you feel like it. Also, look how cool the sleeves look. I love it.